Tuesday trades in there. All right, I will skip over those then. Okay, welcome to everybody on YouTube. As you may notice, it's not Eamon, so I'm just a couple of minutes behind here. It's the last minute. We're leaping into the breach. See what we can do to help, because Eamon has had some internet issues. Go! His internet is unfortunately not working. So that means that he's a little bit out of commission. And you guys are just so lucky that you've got me to take over. So let's see what we can do here to do some trades and get a trade review going. All right, give me 1 second here and we will see what we can do here. Oh, that is not good at all. Is the let me just check with those that are in the room. Is it flashing for you? Because it's really like flashing for me. I'm not sure why. That's very strange. Disco charts. Yeah, it was. That was a little freaky, wasn't it? All right, well, we'll hopefully that'll fix. Now, guys, I am not going to be anywhere near as efficient as Eamon, so we'll see how many we can get through. We'll go through these in order again. As usual, it's we'll go through one per individual who has submitted. See what we can do to review these trades. Some interesting trading this morning. I found the markets again today a little awkward. I had just one really good trade. I got stopped out on SRNE early with a lot of people, I think, because I was expecting it to jump and took a loss there, but had a great win on AMD, and so that helped in my case. But we'll see what our members have done. So for everybody out there on YouTube, if you've got comments, I will do my best to keep an eye on those and get them posted, and address them here as we go along. All right. So let's start with this trade from, who submitted this one? Lenny on NVAX. Surprised you traded NVAX. I took a look at it this morning. Didn't like the look of it, but I see you got some partials on the way up. And to me, this is a great sort of little pullback. Once you saw the continuation on the pullback here, you were able to take this long. This partial's interesting. I wonder why you took that. Looked like to me like this thing was continuing. I don't see any levels that you had listed here. It was a 5-minute. Okay. So you just showed the 1 and 2 minute chart. So on a 5-minute ORB. 2R. Okay, well that makes sense then. So you were taking it first at a technical level, then you started, at a strategic level for you within your strategy, and then from there, you looks like you took one sort of when it looks like it peaked. Great exit, by the way. This partial right here is pretty awesome. Then when you thought it was going to drop, took another one, and then waited it out to see if you can get a new high, which you successfully did up here. So I assume that was your all-out position. So, nice trade, yeah. Yeah, good trade. What, out of curiosity, what did NVAX go and do after that? Let me get a chart for myself here. What have I done? I've broken things. I don't know what's happened. 1 sec, guys. Sorry. Daz is there. Oh, failed to duplicate window. I must have too many charts open already on it. So Let me just grab this, move it down, take a look at NVAX. What was NVAX up to after that? Oh, look at that. 138.39. So it made one more leap, it looks like, after that, right? If I just look at a chart quickly here as to NVAX, what it did, comparing it to your trade, you were all out about 955, so your exit was about, we'll get rid of these, was about here. So if you get to this chop, you had one little more opportunity, but pretty much you got close to the top, so not a bad trade on that. Yeah, it often is more difficult, Lenny, to stay in a trade than to enter it. So yeah, I don't blame you there. That can be challenging. So. All right, so nice trade. I don't have a lot of comments on it. I mean, it was real simple, sort of ABCD, right? You waited for the pullback, you saw it start to move, you took the trade again. So that was a nice trade that you took on that. Let's go to the next one that we had. Next up, we had this morning was from Dan. Dan's trade here. Oh, this is a quick in. Hey, this looks like one of my trades. So gold. So this is Barrick, right? If I'm not wrong on that. So this is Barrick. Dan. Sorry guys, the phone is ringing now. Oh, so you're trying to go for an extreme reversal. Interesting, right? And then, so this is where, yeah, Eamon would be best to comment. I mean, I'm not best on these strategies. What I see a couple of things on this, though. Look, so you did have volume showing you, so, like a peak in volume that came up. It's not super extreme compared to the rest of the volume level that you've got here, but it wasn't bad. Then you get the sort of the spinning top or the uncertainty doji. I see why you went short. So you were looking for the drop, didn't really drop, and you got out immediately when it broke back up. So that seems like a reasonable trade management. Didn't work, obviously, so a little bit of a loss on that, but it seemed to me like it was a reasonable attempt at the trade. What did gold do after that? So that would have been about 10:30. So yeah, so it went a little higher from there, but not much higher. You would have got it if you'd stuck with this, right? You would have had that opportunity. So this is what you were looking at. Yeah, right in there, in that pattern, right here. Did you try it again, Dan, out of curiosity? Or did you sort of decide not to risk it? No, you didn't, eh? The only thing I see here, I notice you don't have marked on your chart something that I have this, see this dotted line? This to me, there's a previous day high that was right here at the point at which it reversed. That might be a sign that it might not reverse very far, right? It ended up just doing like a little, sort of just a little, ABCD pattern or a continuation here. So I might not have taken an extreme short when it was just peaked above this previous day close line, because notice how here it sort of bounced off of it. Here it did actually use it as support for that next move. So I think, then this is Eamon's strategy, not mine, so I'm not an expert on it, but normally you don't want to have levels right there that might interrupt the flow of the drop. So, but the other than that, to me, just the base pattern looks okay. Oh no, you do have that line. I see that here. So anyway, so there was a, or is that a different line? What is this for you? No, it's right at the same place as mine. So, I'm not good at those. I struggle to do those extreme reversals. So I have to keep working on those myself. I've tried a couple. Yesterday was a better day for them, I found, because my strategies, the mountain top, the mountain pass, sorry, just wasn't really setting up very well. There wasn't a lot of them. So, all right, we'll have to go to the moving on to the next one here. Why does this always sort of go for me? Our next trade here. Deepak on Lyft. Oh, you have some commentary. That's great. So Lyft, you're looking to take off of a bottom. See, I find these are this is sort of almost an extreme off the bottom, right? Early in the day, you went for a long. It took an early partial. Hotkey mistake. Partialed up. All right. Well, this is certainly a trade worked out. Not a trade I can normally take. This is looks like a Brian style trade. This is the type of trade he would take, right? Extreme reversal off the bottom. So you get in up here. I like where you put your stop loss at the bottom of those candles. That makes sense. Took a quick first partial in case it pulled back to you. And I noticed that you did not stop out at break even. So you obviously, when you take a partial, you don't have a rule or didn't exercise it here, where if it comes back to your break even point after taking a partial, you would stop out. But to your defense, that did allow you to stay in this trade and then take further partials up the line here. So way to nail the top too. I see you did use this previous day high here, which I assume is what that is indicating on your chart. What is going on here? Lift. I can't seem to change my charts here. All right, so lift. Yeah. Oh, that's a previous day low, actually. Right there. But anyways. Armando, the mountain pass, yeah, I can take a moment to explain that, something I'm certainly comfortable with. So this overall good trade here in Lyft. Let me pull up a quick. Here's the explanation in one page, how do I make it larger? Here we go. So. My mountain pass strategy basically says it's a double top strategy. You want to take it at the high of the day or the low of the day. Basically here I've got a bunch of things you can use that sort of helps explain it and the criteria, if you will, that I'm looking at. But essentially I'd be looking for a trend to a new high of the day. You want to see a pullback. It comes and fails to make another new high. Right, so that's what this line here indicates, that it didn't make another new high or another new low if you flip this over. Then at the drop, I want to see a solid 1, 2 on the second candle is usually where I take my entry. And then I like to see this 50 moving average come sweeping in that you can see right here. So, I like to go short roughly around here. I will take a first partial where it crosses the 50 moving average, and ideally I'll take further partials if it gets down to VWAP. Now it doesn't always work that way because sometimes it'll bounce around, but you can see the different criteria that I've got here, including you want to see higher volume on the first spike compared to the second one. So if right here you get high volume, to me that's a warning sign because it might be ready to be shooting higher and make a new high of the day. This could just be a pullback in an ABCD, right? The failure of it to make a new high is what invalidates that potential continuation pattern and makes it a mountain pass. So that's a brief summary, and what I can do for you here is I'll post that picture if you want to use it. So there you go. You can use that. You can do it on any time frame, Armando. You can do it on I use it primarily on a 1 minute chart, but it works on a 1, 2, and 5 minute chart. The only thing I will say is that if you do a 5 minute chart, keep in mind, like some of my rules that I've indicated there, if you want to have 5 candles in between, that means you need half an hour for this to set up. So that makes it a much longer term trend than if you're doing it on a 1 or 2 minute chart. Nothing wrong with that. Just means that it's just a longer setup. The stop loss is at the top of, sorry, let me call this up again. The stop loss is basically at this line here. So if I'm entering, right about here, my stop loss is going to be at this line. So basically, if it breaks this area that it failed to get through before. And that's why I can take a partial down here at the 50 moving average, at least based on this picture, if it's an ideal setup, because essentially that gives me a 2-to-1. By the time it hits the 50, it's already got a 2-to-1. That's your ideal setup. Again, doesn't always set up that way, but that's generally what I like to look for. All right, so trade on AMD. Couple of trades it looks like on AMD. Let's see what was going on here. So this trade, they were taking an entry. Looks like you had an entry here. You got a quick partial and then stopped out. Re-entered long based on a large stop. Okay, so you're anticipating a further climb. This one feels a little risky to me. I probably wouldn't take that just because it's a little extended. I'd wait to see what would happen, and then ideally try and get an entry down here. It pulls back, but fails to break this level, right? But anyways, so you held into this trade. You added into it, and then you were able to start taking partials up the line. Now this is another one of my patterns I see that you've got here that you actually did trade, because then it made this what I call the lightning bolt pattern at the VWAP, and you're able to add into that, so it's a great add. You add it into your trade such that you could take more partials over here. And then all out. I assume this is probably closer at your new break even. So well done. Oh, it looks like we have our second IPO of the day. Let me just announce that to the room. BEKE is just opening. I'll just have to announce this for the room here. 1 second. Let's take a look and see what this IPO is doing. So we got some real-time stuff going on. BEKE, you can see it just opened. We only have one candle. BEKE originally had a strike price of 20 bucks, so it's opening well above that strike price. Volume 8 million shares out of the gate, so this might be an interesting IPO. I'll keep an eye on that. Anyways, so on AMD here, good trade. I like this trade on AMD. Now I had an earlier trade on AMD, so I traded a little bit differently, but that one certainly works. So well done, Charles, on that trade. Next we have another trade from GoDogs on JMIA. JMIA here. You're going for a reversal. So this is an interesting one to me. GoDogs, you still here? I'm curious on JMIA. So what was your signal? Was this an extreme reversal? Is that what you were looking to do on this? Yeah. Because it wasn't, because the pattern was a little flat for that. I mean, I don't know what Eamon would say, obviously, but to me, it didn't go extreme, right? You'd want it to be going up like that to get the extreme reversal on it. It started rounding or flattening out almost, right here. So I get the entry. You must have obviously had. So if your entry here was, let's call it 14, probably a stop at the high 14.20, so you wanted to see 40 cents and you didn't quite get there. It looks like it got maybe 30 cents on you. Didn't quite get to the 40 cent mark. So you ended up getting stopped out once it made that new high. Yeah, okay. I probably would have stopped it, just food for thought. So you held in here waiting to see what happened. It went just past your break even, came down, and once it made a shallower bottom, see how it made a bottom here and then a shallower bottom? I probably would have stopped it out at break even, right around this point. Saying, okay, this is just not going to work, right? My reversal, I mean, by now you've got enough minutes, enough time has passed to say, well, it's obviously not in a reversal. It might go down, but it's not on the original premise that I was trading in. At least I'll stop at break even and not risk any money on it. That was your first stab. Well, hey, then live and learn, right? But, at least you stuck to your original plan. You stopped out where you said you were going to stop out here. So that's fine. But yeah, so food for thought. If it didn't, I think Eamon, when he trades these, he says if they don't go right away, he's usually out pretty quick. And obviously this one didn't go out all that quickly. So hey, but nice. At least you're giving a stab at a new trade. So appreciate that. All right. Next on our trades, we had from B Tang. Oh, some commentary. I love it. All right. So what are we looking at here? Let's see if I can. Let me find the trade. So you can see the trade down here at the 2 minute. Here it is on the 1 minute. All right. So looking for a parabolic reversal. Price was extended on the 5 minute chart. So this is over here. 5 consecutive bars near its daily level. Saw a hammer on the 2 minute. All right, so let me clear my circles so I can see that. So this is the hammer you were looking at. Closed above the 200 moving average. So here's the moving average coming in right here. Got it. Your stop was just below the body of the hammer, so right down here. Intended 3 to 1. You actually got 2 to 1 and a stop out. Interesting. So this is a quick trade. It didn't last long. In fact, in the same minute you took your partial. I can even see here on the 1 minute chart, you took it in the same minute and then just got stopped out a couple of minutes later. So quick scalp. Yeah, I see you putting some comments about your own entry. You wished for a better entry, a little bit late based on your analysis, the 1 minute chart. I would agree with that, but sometimes you want to make sure it's actually working, right? And sometimes that assurance can be worth the slippage in terms of the entry, at least in my opinion. But I think you're probably right. Eamon wouldn't have taken this because, one, I don't think the movement was extreme enough. It was still within, it didn't actually get to an extreme level because it broke this low right at the beginning of the day and it was really just coming back to that level. So on a big, I bet you if I looked at SRNE on a bigger time frame, what is going on here? SRNE. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look at it on a 15-minute chart. Yeah, see. To me, when I start looking at SRNE on a bigger time frame, it didn't get into an extreme position really. It just came down and bounced off of that same level. On a 15-minute chart, you can see it's all just wicks down here. But anyways, that's just my analysis. Again, I won't try and project what Eamon would say or do. But he likes them pretty extreme, in my opinion. But hey, you got a green out of it, so you managed it well. So no matter what, you managed that trade well. So well done. All right, moving on. I'm obviously not going to get through all of these trades here like Eamon normally does. Oh, love this chart. Let's see here. Oh, I got a comment in YouTube. Somebody took BEKE on the alert. Says he's made $1,200 off of it already. That's interesting. That's a risky trade. Must have taken big size to have made $1,200 off of that. Looking that this is the IPO that I announced. You can see it just started. I don't really like that IPO pattern, but see what it does for the rest of the day. All right. But looking at this trade here, this is from Sebastian. So break of yesterday's high is what you're looking at here. Let me just find the trade first. Oh, here it is. All right, so I see it here on the chart. On the 1 minute. All right, I see it in here. All right, so JMIA. So this, you're going for the break of yesterday's high. I see where you have that marked. Boy, these are the ones I wish I was gutsy enough to take. These are like John and Mike take these trades all the time. So they go for the break, sort of high of day break, which is what you were looking for, that break. You're then able to take some partials here. So I'll give you credit that you managed it well. Took some further partials here and here, so that's all good. I just, that's not a trade I can take, but I'll give you credit because I said it does look like you did manage that well. You just leverage the momentum. Trend is your friend, right? So you use that trend to just keep going. And if it ever reversed, you could have got out at break even with a pretty easy trade. So well done, Sebastian. That's where you make trading look easy. I stare at that and said, oh, I missed the move, and I'm never able to get into it. So. All right. So, simple, well done. All right. Let's get that, this, and this. We'll go back to our next one from Dower. D-A-U-R, Dower. Dar. Not sure if I'm saying your name right. Apologies, Dar. So you're trading AMD. A lot of action on AMD today. I suppose that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. AMD was again in play. You notice I've had it on my list for a very long time. This was at a tougher place, so I see you were looking to. Looks like you were trying to take you were trying to go short on it, right? You really thought it was going to break down, and you're going short. I'll admit, I considered that as well, but it never really set up a pattern for me. So Dar, when you're doing this, one of the things I would say is you've got to try and get a great entry. One thing I notice if I look at your entries here, notice this was sort of at the low. I assume it was at the low of the time. You were looking for the break here, but the problem is you give yourself, you don't give yourself a lot of room. You're better off to sort of wait for a pullback. And then essentially where you got out of this trade, that's when you say, look, if you honestly think it's going to go short, try and get in as close to this pullback point as possible. And that gives you the better entry, because then you might have been able to take a partial here, and even if it bounced, you could have stopped out. It's easy to say in hindsight, I will grant you, but if you look at every time, 1, 2, 3, you took your short when you were waiting for it to break down, and each time it sort of failed on you, right? The only time it went lower was this time here, right, on this candle, but it didn't hit your target yet, and you were looking for a lower low, and once again you sort of got stopped out up over here. So I would say, if you're looking to try and take these, wait for the pullback. Look how it's making this wavy pattern, right? So if you think of it like waves, you say, well, if I think this wave is over, even if you only get in somewhere like here, right, that would have allowed you to ride out the rest of these waves, right? So if you didn't make that wave, okay, so you're only getting in here. Well, you could have sort of ridden out this wave, or at least sort of, gotten out at break even if it was pulling back on you. Again, easier said than done, but that's what I see. And if I look at AMD from a bigger chart perspective, let's bring in my chart again. So this is the area where you were trading it. In hindsight, you can look at it and say, oh, well, it's really just a lot of chop. Now, the one thing I don't see on your chart that I have on mine, notice these two yellow lines. See this yellow line? I thought about trading this. The reason why I didn't is because of these yellow lines. This is what we like to sort of jokingly refer to as the tinfoil line, right? And the tinfoil line is here. Where is that tinfoil line that we talk about? Really, what it is at 8 a.m. every day, there's sort of a clearing of accounts. And I don't know exactly why it happens, to be honest, but what we've noticed is that sometimes that creates a channel in which stocks will trade. And notice that all of this chop happened sort of within that channel, or largely within that channel, right? So when I saw that, I avoided trading in that because I wanted to see how that would resolve, because I didn't know if it would resolve to the top side or the downside. You were looking for a breakdown, but really what happened is you ended up getting caught in that chop 3 times. So just food for thought. It may be something that you want to mark. And if you come back, look, I can show it to you. Look here, right at 8 o'clock, even though nothing was happening, see where I put the line? See this one candle? This one body candle had a high, as you can see right there, of 82.58, which is where my top yellow line is, and a low of 82.31. So that's exactly how I got those lines. And, if I just move back over, you can see what happened. See how well this chop happened largely within that space. So, again, some food for thought there. you might want to draw those on your chart. Sometimes they never come into play. Some days they do come into play. So, all right. So that's the AMD trade from Darren. Thanks for sharing that, Darren. Sometimes it's harder to share the trades that don't work out, but at least you were able to share that. And if you've got other, questions, feel free to ask them. I'm just going to go back because I noticed that I missed a couple of questions here. Eric, you're saying, quick question. Parabolic reversal and a reversal, is it necessary to wait for the 1 minute low or 2 minute low to enter? Well, you know what, that again, this is to Eamon's strategy when he does this. So he doesn't wait for that 1 minute low, right? Often what he does is when you get the uncertainty candle and then you see the break, he will take that with the stop being at the top of that candle, if I understand his strategy. So you don't have to have that new low necessarily, but I think it depends on the pattern. Maybe you guys who fall, if there's anyone else who trades that, maybe you can help answer that question for Eric. Again, I'm not an expert on that pattern because it's not one that I regularly trade, but hopefully that helps. But oh, here, Peter B already did provide some answer to that. So thank you, Peter B, for jumping in. Colton, I don't usually trade ranges like that. I used to, but I got chopped up. And I wanted to try and avoid getting chopped up, sort of like Dower got chopped there. And so that's why I try and avoid that now going forward. So this is a trade I like. I'm surprised at this entry, but nice trade. So this is DA Handsome. The Handsome? I'm not sure. Can I call you DA? Anyways. So looks like you actually took this pre-market. You know, I thought about that. This is an interesting one that you took that pre-market. The risk is, of course, that it's going to do what we call the rising devil, right? Which is when it, at the open, it pops and then drops. And it could have done that. I was actually waiting for that move, but I mean, you obviously saw it correctly where it didn't pop at all. In fact, you were able to get partials before pre-market from your entry, and then you just rode it all the way down. Look at that exit there. To me, this is the pinnacle of your trade. Well, I guess it is, almost literally. An inverse pinnacle? What's the inverse of a pinnacle? The bottom? Anyways, but there's got to be, pinnacle sounds impressive. There's got to be like a good reverse word for that. But anyways, excellent partial here. And in fact, oh no, that wasn't your all out. So your all out was up here at VWAP. Interestingly, I actually went short at VWAP. I have a trade where I went short right about here, and then I rode this down. Not as exciting a trade as yours, and certainly didn't get the same move, but I rode it all the way down. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I'm still in that trade. So, in fact, that might give me an opportunity to look at Cisco right now and see if I am still in that trade. I am still in that trade, so... Anyways, so yeah, different ways to trade it, but this I'm impressed. This is actually was a really good trade and read. There was a risk, I said, but that it would pop up on you, but because it had already dropped even before the open, you had a little bit of insulation. I'm curious, DA, if it had have popped back up to your entry, would you have exited? Would you have stopped out here, or would you have given it a little more room because you'd already taken a couple of partials? You would have exited the trade? Yeah, because you never know how high it's going to go. Cisco isn't a big mover. In fact, I don't normally like the way it trades, but I thought I'd take a risk on it today. But still, I think this is an excellent trade execution. So I'll give you credit on that one. A nice big check mark. That's a good trade. Well done. All right. Matthew's a Microsoft trade. All right, interested to see what you did on Microsoft here, Matthew. Looks like you had a struggle here on, let me just zoom in a bit on your chart. You had a struggle on Microsoft, trying to take, I assume, an extreme reversal. This one, I don't even know what to say on this one. I mean, you stuck to your rule. You had a short. You put your stop loss in. It looks like you stopped out at that stop loss. I assume based on this candle, which you saw as a doji candle, you went short looking for the break, which didn't happen. and then you got stopped out. I don't know if this would be considered a good extreme reversal or not. You know, my only comment in looking at it is that it seems early in the day for an extreme reversal. Like at 9:40, Microsoft, you know, I guess you know, my watching it, you know, it did this consolidation here, and this is only the first pop up. If this was the second or the third, even the third is usually the best one where you get the reversal. I might have taken it. I mean, as it turns out, this thing did reverse earlier than a second or third time, right? It just unfortunately consolidated on you here before dropping back, but I don't know. It seemed early, but I don't take these, so I don't know. Well, see, I see your comment, Byron. I wouldn't call this a volume anomaly because this volume isn't extremely high, right? I mean, it had slightly higher volume, but how do you know this is not building volume for another, you know, another push up? As it turns out, the volume dropped off right after it. But, you know, this candle isn't really much bigger than this candle, right? Which happened in the second minute. So yeah, it doesn't look extra. Like if it came up and it was this size, the size of the opening candle, then absolutely, that would be a volume anomaly, I would think. But to me, it doesn't quite make it. In my estimation, and I'll keep caveating, this is not my area of expertise, this type of trade. But hey, thanks. I do appreciate you sharing it with us, even though it wasn't the big winner. But you know, it shows that hey, you're trying the trade and not afraid to to share it with us. So thank you for that. All right, whale. Oh, this one, I have no idea what's going on here. Sorry, the chart is... Oh, here it is. Here's the trade. I found it. All right, so here's the trade. So this is one of my mountain passes, I assume. This is on... Let's just take a look. What is this on? Well, what stock was this on? Novavax. All right, so let's take a peek at it. Let me just bring this up. Whoops. Let me just bring this up beside it so we can take a look here. So your trade happened at 10:30. So let's look at this time period right in here. So this was your trade entry right here. So this does qualify as a mountain pass for me, right? So here we had a high, so you'd be looking for a mountain pass. Here it fails, so it makes a new high. Okay, so that invalidates a mountain pass at this point. No problem. Now it makes a lower high here. Now it didn't come back and retest, but it skirted the 50 moving average without touching it. So I do like that right here. I sort of like it when it doesn't touch. Remember, I've said many times, or those of you that know my mountain pass strategy, I don't like when it crosses, but it's sort of okay if it comes near. Came back and failed. Now it's a reasonable entry. Now I would have tried possibly to have gotten an entry a little bit earlier if I was you, right? Somewhere around here. But still, you took the entry and then you got at least one partial. I don't know if you sort of got all out, but anyways, if I'm just comparing to your trade. So this is where you got in, you took your partial, so your partial happened down here. But you can see you left some on the table because there was further opportunity as it moved down here through VWAP. So, you know, like to me, that's the ideal trade, right? Because if you get in sort of where you did or where I indicated, somewhere around there, you hold, your first partial is at your 2-to-1, which would roughly be down here. Then you wait for VWAP, all right? Suffer the pullback, wait for VWAP, you get another partial here, and then you just hold on and see what happens. And while you weren't wrong about it reversing, I see your comment that you say you felt it was reversing, and it was. I mean, in the short term. But it was also just, you know, this is just a pullback. That's one thing, by the way. I don't cover that in my course. I don't know that I mentioned it on my course when I talk about the mountain pass, because if you look at like that picture I brought up of the mountain pass, you notice how I just draw it going straight down. But one of the things I've noticed happens a lot is it often comes back and retests this 50 moving average. And so what you get is this type of lightning bolt pattern, or at least this pullback pattern, that does happen a lot. You know, ideally, it doesn't come back and test to a point where it comes back to your break even, but this type of thing happens quite a bit. So maybe something to think about and keep be aware of. Now this, yeah, if you're saying there's a large spread, I can just see with the price being at 137, I don't know what the spread was on this, but let's take a peek here. What's the spread right now? Whoops, NVAX. So right now, yeah, see right now it's got a 12-cent spread. I'm assuming that the spread was bigger than that previously. It's 5 cents, 6, 12. Yeah, see it's jumping around here a little bit. It was around 30 cents. That would make sense, you know, when it was more volatile at the time. So yeah, that would have made it harder to trade. Usually, what I do on that, if I'm going short, what I will do is I will then watch the bid, not the ask. Sorry, the ask, not the bid. Let me see. So this is the bid. This is the ask. I will watch the ask price, and if the ask price comes back and hits my entry, or slightly over it, that's when I will take off the trade. That way it avoids some of the slippage. Because if you wait, especially on a big spread, if you wait for the ask to hit, well, you're going to get filled well above your break even, right? And then you're going to get a bunch of slippage. So I watch the ask on a short and the reverse. The reverse on the exit of a long. So, all right. But anyways, so quick trade on that. I don't set. I manually manage it. But yeah, if you set a stop limit, now just know it depends on how you set that stop, right? If you actually set a limit order, then yes, it'll get filled. You're going to get filled at the. You will get filled at the ask, probably. So just make sure that you don't get skipped over. So to something that you just mentioned, when there's a large spread, if you set a limit order, you might have to set a wide range limit order, or you might get skipped over, because sometimes if the spread was 30 cents at the time, and if you set it for anything less than a 30-cent spread on your limit order, then it might actually skip over it, right? Because the bid and ask can skip over prices. So I prefer to use market orders, and that way I know I get filled, even though it risks greater slippage. But I said usually I manually manage it, so I just hit the button, and then it gets me out at whatever price we can get at that time. So, all right, let's take a look, Dan. I see you got another trade in here for us, but I'm getting down to the... No problem, Whale. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Did we do this one already? Is this a reprint? Maybe not. SRNE. You know, I was watching SRNE, and I was really struggling with finding, you know, something I liked to trade on this. So let me take a look at the bigger chart here. 1130. It's interesting how the chart looks different depending how you look at it. So your trade happened right in here, right? Whoops. Sorry. Right in here. Oh no, I'm on the wrong. 1 second. Un momento, por favor. No wonder it doesn't quite look right. I'm looking at the wrong stock. mRNA, 1 minute. Was this today? No, it was the 11th. That's why. Thank you. That was 2 days ago, right? Today being the 13th. that look right? 11:30, 11:45. Yeah. So this is the bigger chart. Eamon had technical issues, Mick, which is why he wasn't able to make it here today. So just sort of filling in for him. It was very last minute, so my apologies for not being fully prepared. But so yeah, so you took your first long here, you added to it here, and then you got partials. So this is interesting. So when I zoom out of the chart, this does sort of look like a. Now I've done it to myself. I've gone and hidden my my chart on. Sorry guys, one sec. Let me find it. There it is. Let me just do that. So when I zoom out on this, it does look like a mountain pass to me, right? So here's your peak, here's the lower high. You even get a third lower high. Now the interesting thing to me is if I look at your entry was right down here, right? Which is a little bit of a chase on this. I will often pass over a trade if I feel I've missed it, because I don't like these pullbacks. And I see that's exactly what happened to you, is that you got in. Now, did you go over your risk limit, or was this sort of part of your strategy where you said you went in with a smaller size, knowing you will add if it pulls back on you, with presumably a stop maybe somewhere right up here? Is that what you were looking at? Yeah. So previous to like that, remember that AMD chart that we looked at where the entries were always at the bottom of the bounces. So let me clear all of my writing here. But if you look at, things can bounce at any point. So, you're always going to try and maximize your entry opportunities, which mean you'd want, like this entry, this is good. This one you were chasing. So you would have been better off, even if it risked losing the trade, because this thing could have gone straight down from here and you would have lost the opportunity, which is, I'm sure, why you took this, because you're afraid of it. But I've been burned so many times in that. I do my best to wait for the pullback. And even if I missed the pullback and only got in here, that's still a better entry than this one down here. So, wait this out sometimes, and it's worth your while, because then you can be more comfortable in the trade. This, because these partials then are okay, right here and here. This is probably, was this your new break even, and it just wicked up and stopped you out? Hate it when that happens. Yeah, because when I look at the bigger chart, you ended your chart here, but obviously you missed out on the further opportunity as it dropped through this moving average, right, and down to a lower level. So there was much more trade to be had in this. Again, all sort of hindered a little bit by the fact that you had that first chased entry. So if you had sort of had the ability to have a little more patience, entered a little higher, that would have given you not only a more comfortable entry with a tighter stop, but allowed you to stay in the trade through these pullbacks, and then taking advantage of the bigger drop. Again, easy to say after the fact, especially 2 days later. But that's the type of analysis I think you should do, to look at it and say, so what am I going to do differently next time? When I look at this big picture, I'm like, I get it, right? Here was my top. Here's my second one. I was thinking it was going to break down here. That's not unreasonable. But if you missed an entry somewhere in here, then wait and see what happens. Because maybe it'll just consolidate sideways. Maybe it'll give you another entry, which in this case, it happened to have done. So that's that would be my 2-cent analysis of that. But hopefully it's somewhat helpful to you. All right, the last one I saw, I think that's the same one. No, this is AMD. AMD from today. Wow, you nailed that entry. Let me see this. Where's AM? Oh my goodness. AMD. did you get on this? 9:45. Wow, that's very interesting to me. So AMD, let's look at it closer up on a 1-minute chart. You've provided a 2-minute chart. So this entry's got to be about 9:46 or so. So somewhere right in here. This is today, right? Just AMD 2-minute, 13th. This doesn't look right. Was this really today? Was it? That's weird. Let me just take a look at a 2-minute chart here. I'm just trying to compare. It's interesting how, you know, when you draw your chart differently, it just looks different. But I guess so. I guess this is the chart. These candles match up. Just looks so much less extreme on your chart. Anyways, I'm impressed at your entry. I would have found that a tough entry because, again, going back and looking at the 1-minute chart, to me, I'm just seeing chop in here. And you know, I'm worried that it bounced below VWAP, came up and held, made a higher low, right? So I'm seeing in this a low, a higher low, but I mean, I'll admit that on this it also made a high and a lower high, right? So I'm just seeing a wedge in here. Not sure what it's going to do. Certainly wouldn't have expected this type of big breakdown through VWAP. But I mean, you got it. You got the trade, and were able to take advantage of it. But it's not a trade I would have taken because I wouldn't necessarily expect that move. I think you had a high probability it could have bounced back on you. Do you take this type of trade often? I'm just curious if this is like a standard pattern of yours, or was it just something you were trying? Yeah, you take it often? All right. Well, if it works, then that's awesome. Maybe I can learn something new from that. Today, the blows after 2 tops, you go in. Okay. So you saw the 2 tops, and then you went in. I mean, I obviously it worked, so... Can't argue the result. Interesting trade. Well, there you go. I think I learned something new about how you could possibly take a trade. So, well done on that. Well, thanks for that. Let's check on this IPO. No, the IPO sold off. So, not looking good right now. No, it's okay. I was looking at the 1 minute beside it, so I can see what it was doing. It's said for me, looking at the 1 minute, I still saw it differently, so I would have had trouble taking that short trade. But you know, credit to you, you saw it, it worked. What's there to argue, right? So, anyways, IPO was selling off. I was talking to you guys about some of my trades. The one, so the one that worked really well was AMD for me. And I was really happy. I didn't get the same entry Thor did. Let me show you, but you can see my trade here. So, you know, I saw the bounce off of this level down here. I got in a little late. I wanted to see it break the body, but it was moving so fast that instead of getting an entry closer down here, it filled me like 10, 12 cents higher than I was expecting. I took a partial on the pop just in case it dropped again. Then it was hesitating. I mean, it pulled back to my entry, and this is actually on the way back up, but then it hesitated for a bit. So I took another partial, which I probably shouldn't have. This one I sort of regret. But then as you can see, I just partialed my way up. I thought it was going to do like a little, sort of little lightning bolt here. So I tried to add, but then that got me stopped out, which is a shame because if I hadn't added, I would have survived this pullback. I could have taken another partial at the top or added when it came up and held VWAP here, but I still would have been stopped out. I would have been stopped out at the point at which DA, you were just going into this. So you were taking the short. So I would, had I not taken this unfortunate ad, which stopped me out early, I would have been stopped out right about here, which is a little bit just about the point at which you were entering. So, but anyways, so that's the way it goes. So anyways, yeah, that was my key trade. The other one that was right off the open, just to share my open trades with you. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? Yeah, it was SRNE. This one, I got nervous on the second try. You can see here, I went long looking for the pop. I got really hammered, like it really stopped me out, but I take small size at the open. So then I tried it long again, thinking it's going to hold VWAP. It did hold, and then I don't know what happened. I got nervous because of the early stop, and it was really just chopping around here quite a bit. I didn't like the price action. I should have either held it or gone back in because I missed the opportunity, but it was bad management on SRNE. So, and then I took a couple of trades later that I mentioned, but those were the key ones. Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at AMD right now. You're saying it looks like a mountain pass. I like the sound of that. Well, it's not. It's not at the high or low of the day, so that's the first thing that comes to mind, right? I like my mountain passes to be at the low of the day or the high. This is in the middle of the price action, and like I said, one of the things. Notice I've got my tinfoil lines, these two yellow lines, right? That's that zone. So it's coming back into that price area where I noticed chop happen. So I wouldn't be taking this for a mountain pass right now. So, all right, guys. Well, look, we're going to call it a day there. Thank you so much for watching. My apologies that Eamon wasn't able to make it. Hopefully his internet issues get corrected, and he's going to be able to be back with us sooner rather than later. So with that, I'll give you guys maybe thank you for putting up with me during this. And hopefully it wasn't too painful. Where's my clapping? Here we go. There we go. Hand for you guys in there. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you back in the room. So afternoon trading. Hopefully get some afternoon. Oh, it's not the weekend yet. I keep thinking it's Friday today. It's only Thursday.
Such an idiot.
Keep thinking it's Friday. It's really only Thursday. Anyways, hopefully it's all good the rest